In the beginning of this year, I said that I won't buy any clothes, but try to DIY everything. Well, I failed because I had to quickly reevaluate all my belongings and pack for an indefinitely long trip to an indefinite location. I tried to be as practical as I can, and I used 4 main principles just to figure out what to keep and what extra stuff to get. Hey my friends, if you're new here, I'm Anna, Anastasia, and this channel is about everything that is mindful, minimalist and creative. If you haven't already, please go and check out my previous video, life update, where I talk about why I had to leave Siberia and how and where I am now. As an aspiring minimalist, I loved everything that I owned back in my Siberian hometown. Every item had a meaning, had a history behind it, and it was loved. But when it came to packing and being practical, I realized that, geez, I was so far away from what I thought I was, and I thought I was a pretty good minimalist, but apparently I wasn't. But anyway, it's a perfect lesson learned, and it's a real-time practice of minimalism, right? So first thing that I thought about when packing for this journey was functionality. Seems super easy, right? But as a minimalist who has quite a lot of sentimental items that I love, and I enjoy colors and vibrancy and variety, and so I had a pretty hard time figuring out what to leave behind, and I had to leave behind quite a lot of stuff, including a lot of personal mails and postcards and a dress that was gifted by my husband, but it wasn't functional enough, and like many other things. As I said in one of my previous videos, safety and predictability of life is just an illusion. And now, looking back, I can see so clearly all those situations when I just spent money on something that I thought was beautiful, or I just had a whim to own. But then when I was getting rid of those things, I asked myself, what value did they bring me after all? In addition to that, instant gratification for getting a thing, or maybe to wearing it or owning it for a while. And the answer was not a pleasant one, because it turned out that the majority of items brought me very tiny value. Almost all they did is place a very unpleasant load on myself, because I felt overwhelmed getting rid of them and leaving them all behind. That said, I had to buy a few functional things that could be very useful for my trip, such as a backpack that was big enough but not overly big, and that was friendly to my back and was enough for carrying all the very important belongings, including my laptop. I also got a smaller bag for carrying all the documents, wallet, phones, and everything that I should keep an eye on like a hawk during the trip and in a bigger city. And I also got an ultra packable jacket, because I had to leave all my jackets at home, like the warmer ones, because they were too bulky and too heavy. So yeah, I don't want to show you everything that I own right now, because I don't want to bore you with that, but please feel free to mention in the comments whether you want me to make a separate video about everything that I have right now and that I carry with me during this trip. So the second principle that I used for selecting things for my journey was lightweight. I am far from being a very strong person, so I had to get a big suitcase with 4 wheels in order to carry everything. And I managed to find quite a lightweight suitcase. But with everything, all my belongings inside, it became pretty heavy. And honestly, it turned the first part of my trip into a nightmare. I had to spend 1 week in Novosibirsk, and I was close to the point where I wanted to throw away everything, just to get rid of everything, because I was so exhausted, because I thought I took only what I really needed, but it turned out that there were some things that I don't really need. And then my brother suggested that I should ship him everything that I thought I wouldn't mind getting rid of. And surprisingly, I collected stuff that fit into like this size of bag, yeah, and I shipped it to him. And yeah, that was a revelation. That was the second round of grand selection, and it gave me a lot of insights. Right now, the heaviest things that I carry with me are the ones that are directly related to my work. It's laptop and all the accessories, it's my filming devices, and I don't film with much. I just have a tripod, a foldable one, then I have this small mic and a phone. Like, I use my phone to film everything. I don't have like a full-featured camera, but still, everything collects weight, you know. And it made me think how we often don't pay much attention to smaller things that we have. We think like, oh, it's just one extra hairbrush. It doesn't hurt to have one in the bathroom. Or, oh, it's just a pair of pants that I wore only twice since 2020 when I bought them during the lockdown. So you see what I mean? This is how we lose count and we put more and more weight on our life, literally. And now I try to think of my personal travel as a metaphor, with all the belongings being not just material things, but my choices, my emotions, my experiences, my knowledge. So I'm constantly asking myself, what is really, really worth keeping? My third principle for packing my belongings was self-care. And I think I took it from my father, because no matter how hard his life was or how bad he felt physically or mentally, he always took the best care of his own body and clothes. Even when he was at the hospital last time, and when he no longer could get out of his bed, he asked me and my brother to get him a new electric shave so that he could groom himself without any need of getting up. Yeah. So, and now every time I try to be thankful and mindful of all the moments when I have an opportunity to take a shower, to use my favorite lotion, to do the dry brushing, to do face massage, to take care of my clothes and my body, because this is what grounds me, that this is what makes me feel alive and grateful for being alive. And I think it's very, very important. So apparently I took enough self-care items, but they are the most basic ones with no excess at all. So the bulkiest ones are my electric toothbrush, my brush for dry brushing, and also a yoga mat. Yes, I took a yoga mat because it's super thin and packable. And it was a gift from my husband. So I've been owning it for almost or more than 5 years. I lost the count of years, but it's proven to be very functional as well, because I use it to sit on the floor whenever I need it. So I just fold it and use it, and it's very, very handy. And anyway, it has it all. It is functional, it is lightweight, there is self-care in it, and also there is the last principle that I use. There is love in it as well. Love, first of all, to the memories that I cherish. For example, I took 2 rings that my mother used to own, like this one and this one, and now I can wear them. They're too big to fit like regular fingers, so I wear them on my thumbs. And I also took a chicken pin from my childhood. It's very tiny, but a precious memory. And I also took a wristwatch. Here, I will show it to you. Okay, this is it's an old wristwatch that belonged to my grandmother. I found it when I was 18, over 20 years ago, when my grandmother passed, and her name was also Anastasia. And I wore this watch for maybe a couple of years, but then it broke and I forgot about it. But when I was getting ready for this trip, I was looking through stuff in my parents' apartment, and I found this watch, and I tried to wind it up, and it worked. And I thought it was a tiny, amazing miracle and a good sign, and it felt like a warm hello and support from everyone whose blood is in my veins right now. So yeah, I kept it and I use it, and I also like to hear the sound of it. I don't know whether you will hear. Anyway, so, and I also took some of my hobby and art supplies. Yeah, so this is the pencil case that I made myself. I used to make pretty many of them, and I used to sell them, and this was the last one. So I have all my pens and hooks and knitting needles here. Yeah, and I'm so glad that I allowed myself to take things that make me feel love by creating something. And I've already created some crocheted items, such as this collar and some other collars. Yeah, so I think that it's very important. So this love principle, the principle of love, is probably the key one. The whole process of packing and choosing things that I wanted to take with me put everything into a pretty clear and ruthless perspective. We have no control over anything that happens outside of our minds, and we prefer not to think that a day can come when we might need the money that we have spent on a pair of fancy shoes or a new phone while the old one is still working. When buying a new book and not reading it right away, we prefer not to think that something might happen and that book could be left forever unread. Yes, it's just things, it's objects, it's just the scenery on the stage of our life. But why not taking time and just choosing what we really need and what we really can endure owning, because it's responsibility and it's love and it's care. I'm not perfect, none of us are, but I invite you to read the book that is sitting on your shelf unread, to wear the dress that you've been saving for some special occasion, and to think what you personally would pack into a suitcase or a backpack for an indefinitely long travel, a travel that our life is actually. So yeah. So thank you for watching this video till the end, my friends. As always, please feel free to share any thoughts in the comment section. I would love to read them, as well as all other friends. And you be safe and keep your heart open. And I hope to see you soon. Пока-пока.